Well, hello! Thanks so much for taking the time to have a look at my art. It's funny how we accumulate a lifetime of things that are important to us. As I recently dusted off several old portfolios of art, long since stored and forgotten, and in serious need of organizing, I felt I needed to honor each piece and record it, even if only for myself. My art hasn't been the most earth-shattering and important work, and I doubt very much if it will ever be in a museum collection. But as an artist, I feel fortunate to have been able to get up almost every day of my adult life, stretch, and ask myself the most important question an artist can ask themselves. What do I feel like creating today? How fortunate I've been. It's hardly ever been work, and I've been pleasantly surprised that folks have thought enough of my art that they are willing to reach in their back pocket, take out their wallets, and give me their hard-earned money for these canvases and bits of painted wood. What an honor. Now, technically, I'm not a very good artist. The D- in the only art class I took in school speaks loud and clear about my relationship with the academic side of things. I don't know the first thing about composition or color theory. In fact, you could put $1 million smack dab in front of me and challenge me to name the primary or secondary colors, and I'd stare at you like a deer in the headlights. Nothing. Believe me, you'd keep your $1 million. But I seem to have a knack for what might work. A thought comes, it grabs me, and I give it a try, see what happens. I call it my loosey-goosey school of art. So, I'm the youngest of 4 boys, a happy kid, incredibly influenced by the children's books read to me early on. Here's a couple of them. I would stare for hours at the illustrations, just absorbing and devouring the colors and the images. Oh yeah, here's a good one. Ha! Looks like I was trying to perfect my signature even back then. Oof, hasn't improved very much. A lot of my early childhood, hundreds of hours, I'd spend alone with my blocks while listening to my old 45 RPM record player. Pinocchio, Jack and the Beanstalk, Three Little Pigs, Robin Hood. I look back on this time as the major influence on developing my imagination. Oh my, what do we have here? It's my 3rd grade report card from St. Rose Catholic School. Let's see what we have here. Doesn't look too good here. Let's see. Check mark indicates causes for deficiencies in achievement. Inattention? Yep. Lack of application? I guess I was staring out the window that day. Incomplete assignments? Yeah. Lack of home study? Hey, don't blame me. My dog Hector ate it. I finally got expelled from that school for being, what was the phrase they used? Oh yeah, being a constant disturbance to the class. You see this pattern in many artists' stories. Terrible academically, being the class clown, always staring out the window. Just a square peg in a round hole, never quite fitting the norm. To this day, I create art depicting those nuns and my experience during that time. The devil helping me take aim with my slingshot. Children's blackened souls from misbehaving. Sister Ligoria's fiberglass rod. Oh, I knew it well. From early childhood and throughout my school years, I sketched and I doodled the hours away until that bell finally rang and I could run away home to freedom. Years later, I began drawing with magic markers on pebbleboard, really influenced by the pop art of the 60s and the Woodstock generation. We'll leave it at that. I began drawing a series of characters I called my Apple People, a theme that stayed with my illustrations for many years, even though they looked more like tomatoes than apples. Round, really plump, no real form. Typical me, not interested in what something really looked like, just what I wanted to express. But as I drew them more, the apple people began to evolve with color and shadows and depth, personalities, and a real sense of animation. Here's my early outside studio. The coyotes would glide by, then stop and look my way. I'd hold up what I was working on for them to take a look at. They'd check it out and then silently just mosey on their way. It was a great place to work. Started to play around with three-dimensional art. People began hiring me to create cartoon illustrations of them and their children. Here's an illustration I did while studying in Luxembourg. I did a lot of copies of this for the American students there. Helped pay my rent. Here at the Apple people, they seem to be enjoying themselves abroad. Here's a sketch of a milkmaid that I saw one day in Luxembourg, and the fashion of the boulevards of Paris. I finally began creating with watercolors and acrylics on canvas. Amsterdam was my favorite city in Europe. The buildings leaning into each other, the canals and boats, and really good Dutch people drew me back year after year. No doubt I was really influenced by the Impressionists. Here's a scene I painted from a morning walk in Paris. And a mirror I made depicting an old man and his pig hunting truffles in Aix-en-Provence. Trees of Arles, where Van Gogh had created so many of his strongest pieces. I copied Monet just to see how he worked, and I used his color palette on my early portraits. Now, somewhere along the way, I studied technical illustrations, of all things, and began drawing isometric views of mechanical thingamajigs for IBM. But being terrible at anything remotely close to a straight line and numbers, I was assigned to do cartoon illustrations for people retiring. Perhaps put their favorite car in the drawing or something about what they did while they worked there. Jeez. And if that wasn't enough of going against the grain for me, I found myself studying architecture. I enjoyed creating what they call the artist rendering off of blueprints, and it seemed like a great fit. These renderings really began to come alive when I began to use watercolors with them. I was offered a job in the Peace Corps, so went to Liberia, West Africa to teach architecture at a technical college. I did quite a bit of research before going over. Here's an architectural study I did of Liberia and other cultures of sub-Saharan Africa. I loved it there and soon began creating paintings of my surroundings and the daily life of the locals. Here's a rendering of my bedroom with hurricane lantern for light, banana tree brushing the window, and an abundant fruit bowl. Boy, what a great way to live. Each morning I would watch the parade of women on their long walk to market. It was beautiful to watch as they gracefully balanced incredible loads on their heads. Here, elders meet under the village shade tree to talk things over. Years later, I created this iPad version of the same scene. One day I just sat and watched these men put the final touches on their fishing boat that they had hand-hewn from a huge tree in the jungle. While visiting other Peace Corps volunteers in Morocco, I would walk past this Berber woman each day. She had a gentle grace, and she would simply sit there with her mint tea and bid, "Good morning." I did this watercolor several months afterwards. After returning to my studio in Tucson, Arizona, I once again began painting and creating my wood folk art pieces. Here's a short film I made of my studio on a winter's day.
Tout dit, et moi je suis. Mes pas sont gauches, mes pieds tout fauches. Je crains les sauts, je cherche en vain les mots pour m'expliquer ta vie. Alors tout le monde, ma soeur, je pense tous ces erreurs, jamais j'écoute, tout parle, je ne comprends pas bien. La belle dame sans regret, la belle dame sans regret.
Many of these primitive, naive paintings are from my childhood growing up in Ohio, and I let my 7-year-old come out to do most of the painting. As a kid, walking past the spooky old funeral home was the scariest part of each Halloween. Autumn was a time to rake huge piles of leaves, then jump in and send them all every which way. Holiday evenings sparked magic for every child. The scale of me to my bike was really important in this painting of the first time I rode my bike. Do you remember your first time? Boy, money can't buy that feeling. Whoa! The Great Snowball Battle of 1812. My hometown pool, where I spent many summers. The old Beehive, our high school meeting place. Our Memorial Day parade down Main Street, Louisiana Avenue. Here are my brothers and me, hamming it up. Our community winter pastime, sledding on Maple Street Hill. Here are paintings of the Zozobra Festival and the opera in Santa Fe. I lived here for a couple years, developing my painting and working a lot of jobs to get by. My wife and I were guests of the Masterworks Foundation, where we lived in a great old place, and I painted for 2 months, speaking to school classes and museum groups before having a final exhibit. Here's a painting I did on Johnny Barnes, a beloved local character who stood at the traffic triangle every day and greeted folks as they went about their early commutes. I love ya, he'd shout and throw kisses. Folks would wave as they went by. Hi, Johnny! Here the beautiful Bermuda dinghy with great numbers of sails sending them through Hamilton Harbor. One of the crew members' only job was to bail as the boat sat so low in the water. Here the beloved but scary Gombe dancers. The whitewashed stepped roofs of Bermuda homes made for a great backdrop as the locals went about their days. Colors bounced everywhere. Here's one titled Photo Finish, depicting the annual 1-mile run down the main street of Hamilton, Bermuda. One day I looked out our window and saw my favorite ferry boat, the Coralita, in dry dock right in front of our place. It was fun getting to know the crew as I painted this piece. Here they all are with the finished painting. There was a ghost in the old place we stayed. Captain Morgan was his name, and he would occasionally float up the stairs to my studio, sometimes insisting on adding a few touches of his own. Boy, everybody's a critic. While traveling through a lot of Caribbean islands over the years, I always loved the way color was used. Bright, opposing colors at war with each other, and yet it really worked. Bali was so beautiful. I took a small watercolor kit along to capture the images. We sailed for a week on this Bougainese schooner. I was amazed as I watched the crew climb the sails and rigging. Farmers would yank on long lines of colorful flags to scare the birds from their rice fields. And sailors would set out from black sand beaches with elephant-eyed boats that would help them see during the night's fishing. I get many of my folk art ideas by just looking down at the ground and noticing the great forms that are left from the project I'm currently working on. It's the darndest thing. I'll see it, it will just grab me, and I'm off on a new series that 5 seconds ago I hadn't even thought of. Boy, talk about the creative process. I think this is the most honest way I've come up with to create so far. And when designing these wood folk art pieces, I used my grandfather's pencil, apron, and other carpentry tools he used over 80 years ago. I'd like to think he'd get a real kick out of his tools being used all these years later by his grandson. It always adds such a nice feeling to the project. Oh, one of our favorite pieces at our home, True Love Birdhouse. Here's a short movie I made about this particular piece, the Sonora Nectar Hummingbird Shadowbox. I created this piece out of an old horse feeding trough. Its thick, chewed edges and aged texture made it the perfect frame to showcase this gorgeous creature and the flowered cactus it's drinking from. But the real fun of this piece is inviting the viewer to become part of the art. Well, just go ahead. Pull the saguaro cactus up and down to watch the hummingbird drink her fill. Now, push the hidden button to hear the wings and the chirps of these beautiful creatures. This was so much fun to make. I think this is my favorite piece, the Roadrunner. I have one that comes to my studio almost daily, and he comes up to the window and he looks in with one eye really close, and then with the other eye. When they want something or get really excited, their crest goes back and forth really fast, up and down, and they make the greatest sounds. So within the piece, I designed a way to mimic one of his great sounds. It's really a fun piece. While traveling, I saw a really neat dugout canoe that a local guy had made, but he wouldn't sell it to me, which kind of ticked me off, so when I returned home, I made my own. And as is so often the case, creating this one boat led to a whole series of boats, each telling its own story. The title of this piece asks the question, gonna hoolie? Are they going to tip over, or are they going to be able to right themselves? So for me, the art of this piece is listening and watching a group of people looking at this and studying it and debating the fate of crew and canoe. Somebody would say, well, that's a really big wave. Somebody else would counter, yeah, but they're leaning back enough to keep the nose from going into the water. On and on they debate it. Perfect, I'd think to myself. That's what I'm after. While traveling New Zealand, we watched Tony and his dog Squirt work the sheep. I've never loved watching anything more. So I created this piece. Bring 'em home, Squirty. Gila Monster Air Show. The Desert Duel. Roadrunner versus Rattler. Hey, it's Gaspar, our lemur. He's gotten loose again. I really missed the old radios from when I was a kid, so I made my own.
Presenting for the first time in radio the amazing interplanetary adventures of Flash Gordon and Dale Arden.
Flash Gordon was my favorite show as a kid, and here's the rocket ship I built from memory. Hey, hi, Mr. Stump. Our hummingbirds love this piece. For a few years, I created a commercial series of furniture and home items. Well, we've been sitting here for almost a half hour now, and I don't know about you, but I could really take a short break. Stand up, stretch, and hey, I've got an idea. Let's head on over to the snack bar. Come on.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby.
Well, I think that's about enough of the snack bar, huh? Everybody refreshed and ready to see some more art? Well, here we go. While traveling, I watched these 3 dogs playing in the rice fields day after day. And once again, one painting spawned a whole series. Adventures of Snicker, Dottie, and Fella. And soon enough, folks were asking me to paint their pets.
How much is that doggy in the window? The one with the waggly tail. How much is that doggy in the window? I wonder if he is for sale.
hooky loud. A hooky, 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 hooky loud. Everybody loves the hooky loud. But the loud, loud is the cow, cow at the luau. We throw our nets out into the sea, and only a mama comes swimming to me. Oh, we're going to a hooky loud. A hooky, 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 hooky loud. What a beautiful day for fishing. The old Hawaiian way. The hooky loud that's swishing down in old Lafayette Bay. Oh, we're going to a hooky loud. A hooky, 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 hooky loud. There's romance beneath Hawaiian skies, with a lovely hula hula maidens roll their eyes, while the silvery moon is shining above. The Connies and Vahinas sing a song about love. Paradise now at the hooky loud. The hooky, 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 hooky loud. Sea, and only a mama comes swimming to me. Oh, we're going to a hooky loud. A hooky, 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 a hooky, 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 hooky loud. Are we going to a hooky loud? A hooky, hooky, hooky.
I want to give this next piece a little extra time because this wood board has turned out to be one of my most personal pieces that I've ever created. It's truly an alive form of art, and on the water we become best of friends. I laugh and talk to it, and the Elia responds by letting me know just where I should be placing my feet or making quick adjustments. It really does have its own personality and played some tricks on me at first. Because it doesn't have foot straps to hold onto or fins on the bottom to grab into the water, it was like riding a really bad amusement park ride at first. It's not just fun, it's crazy fun.
With a lovely hula hula maiden roll their eyes, while the silvery moon is shining above. The Connies and Vahinas sing a song about love. Paradise now at the hooky loud. The hooky, 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 hooky loud. We throw our nets out into the sea, and only a mama comes swimming to me. Oh, we're going.
My wife Jill and I wrote this story about two Hawaiian children who'd learned to fly. Writing the story together and then creating the illustrations on my iPad was a lot of fun.
Are we going to a hooky loud? A hooky, 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 hooky loud. Everybody loves the hooky loud. But the loud, loud is the cow, cow at the luau. We throw our nets out into the sea, and only a mama comes swimming to me. Oh, we're going.
In the mornings, we'd create fruit plates to start the day off with an edible laugh.
What a beautiful day for fishing. The old Hawaiian way. The hooky loud that's swishing.
One day I heard on the news that people were creating art on their iPhones. I bought one, downloaded the art app, and began what would turn out to be a new phase of creating art for me for many years to come. That I could carry my complete art studio in my shirt pocket was absolutely incredible. Starting with a basic pencil sketch, I would take it into my phone, and from there a new world opened up with each painting. I could create effects on my phone that I could never achieve with the brush on canvas. Wow. And then the iPad came along with its huge screen. Made it so much more enjoyable and practical to create on. Here's a short movie with some of the paintings I created on both the iPhone and the iPad.
Sleigh bells ring, are you listening? In the lane, snow is glistening, a beautiful sight. We're happy tonight, walking in a winter wonderland. Gone away is the bluebird, here to stay is a new bird. He sings a love song as we go along, walking in a winter wonderland. In the meadow we can build a snowman and pretend that he is Parson Brown. He'll say, are you married? We'll say, no, man, but you can do the job when you're in town. Later on, we'll conspire as we dream by the fire to face unafraid the plans that we've made, walking in a winter wonderland.
Sleigh bells ring
Are you listening?
in the lane.
Snow is glistening, a beautiful sight. We're happy tonight, walking in a winter wonderland.
Gone away is the bluebird.
Here to stay is a new bird. He sings a love song as we go along, walking in a winter
That's Ruby Valley, Ruby Hollywood, where any office boy or young mechanic can be a panic with just a good-looking man. And any barmaid can be a star maid if she dances with or without a fan. Hooray for Hollywood, where you're terrific if you're even good, where anyone at all from Shirley Temple to Amy Semple is equally understood. Go out and try your luck, you may be Donald Duck. Hooray for Hollywood.
Well, this has been a pretty amazing project for me to put together. Looking at many of these pieces, and I'm kind of surprised to realize, wow, that's pretty nice. I painted that? While reliving other periods of my life, wondering, what was I thinking? There were some regrets along the way, but for the most part, I think it went just fine. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope to be adding on to this collection for many years to come. So until next time, happy trails till we meet again.
Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling until then. Who cares about the clouds when we're together? Just sing a song and bring the sunny weather. Happy trails.